right, welcome here to round 6 of the U.S. Regional Championship here at SCGCon Houston. At the top of the screen, we have Ryan Brozovich on Is It Prowess against Brenton Murahashi on Is It Eldrazi.
And a mulligan.
A mulligan, and we do have a beginning of game effects. A Devourer of Destiny will be triggering on Murahashi's upkeep as a Murahashi Swiftspear is going to get busy.
My personal, literal favorite card of all time, Monastery Swiftspear.
Great pick.
Just the perfect card.
Also a fetch and a shock for a Steam Vent. So Brozovich at 17 knows full well that his life is not really what the game's about. If you get annihilated by Emrakul and take 15, the problem is you lost 6 permanents.
Right, exactly. The whole thing is a lot of times it does something close to lethal damage, and even if it's not lethal, it sets your opponent so far behind, the game is sort of a foregone conclusion.
Right. Devourer trigger resolves. 1 card is kept on top. It's going to be land go from Murahashi.
Nice Steam Vents.
What set's that from?
I believe that is the Tarkir Dragonstorm one.
I have no choice but to believe you.
Special guest, not bad.
Okay.
Can have, I believe, a dragon scale texture. If you get the foil one. Looks real good in person.
Right, and that's shocking there. You have to believe that there's some interaction being left up as we see Brozovich go for Expressive Iteration.
And there's a Spell Snare in Murahashi's hand, which you have to imagine is part of the reason that they kept this one. I think you have to get in where the get is good.
Yeah, you can't take it with you.
Right, there's a spot where a lot of times you go, well, I want to check something like a Slick Shot Show Off and have this do a removal spell impression. But in some ways, going after Expressive Iteration, 1, you know that your Spell Snare is actually going to be worth a card. And 2, if this iteration would have picked up a creature, it's kind of like a removal spell.
I think something that makes the decision interesting from Murahashi's side is when you play your land before iteration, there's a chance Brozovich only gets 1 card off of this.
Sure.
So maybe you try to milk it there.
Right, okay, sure, right. It could even signal that Brozovich is tripping over Expressive Iterations in hand. I know this is something you see in Standard, back when it was legal, a good amount, where players would have to sort of, quote-unquote, cycle them.
And there is Spell Snare, like you called. Swiftspear is attacking for 2. 2 is good. Murahashi to 18. 16. Was at 18 off of the Scalding Tarn. We'll see if there's any Soul Land, at least a Talisman. You want to start developing your mana.
Okay.
Looks like Eldrazi Temple is the land.
Not bad. I think I see a Dress Down hiding in Murahashi's hand, which is a good way to... It's one of those cards that's not that exciting, but it can be in sort of almost a revitalize mode in some cases in a pinch, where you can just turn off Prowess on the upkeep if you think that you might die.
Sure. Go back to Brozovich. Bloodstained Mire is the land for turn. The hand doesn't have a lot doing.
Ooh, really tough. You can see a Violent Urge in hand, but no Delirium, and not that close yet.
Yeah, just sorcery land in the graveyard. There's access to instant, Lava Dart, and Mutagenic Growth. Here's a swing for 1.
And you can see Brozovich thinking. I like the patience.
Yeah, completely agree. I love just getting in for 1 there. You can just get really punished when you go for something. You can get priced into going for multiple things when you don't have that many things to cast.
All right, here's the Incept Dress Down.
And Murahashi draws a card. We'll see if there's that Null Drifter follow-up.
I think I saw it teased in hand.
There it is. Evoke of Null Drifter. Cast trigger. Draw 2 cards. And then once the Null Drifter is in play, the Dress Down's still there, so it doesn't have that ability to have to be sacrificed. Just the Dress Down goes away. Shivan Reef is a land for turn. Brozovich is going to fetch, and looking for some help here. You got to imagine there's going to be a Surveil land and a small range of things you would keep on top.
Right, it's really interesting where the Surveil land, if you see something like a creature, there are a lot of them you put in the bin just because you want to put a creature in the graveyard for something like Delirium on this Monastery Swiftspear.
Yeah, definitely. Get that aggressive urge fully online.
I think a lot of the hardest decisions would be something like Slick Shot Show Off Corey Steelcutter.
Right. Yeah, with either of those, the Lava Dart can get the Steel Cutter going. And it's also, you start asking this question of above or below average. The mill is going to be Mishra's Bobble. That one feels below average. That turns on Delirium. Yeah. Yeah, whether you draw it or surveil it, but getting an extra card deeper makes sense to me. It looks like Mishra's Bobble's a pickup anyway, so we'll start there.
The illusion of choice.
And now Brozovich got to do some math. You have a lot of damage here.
I believe the Swift Spear, unopposed, could attack for 18 this turn.
Wait, here's the attack. Currently at 2-3.
The Lava Darts would make it 20.
Definitely an interesting question from Murahashi on whether you block. You know that Violent Urge is a card in the deck.
It's hard for me to imagine not blocking. In general, you really just want to do whatever you can to try and force your opponent to use resources.
Right.
All right, here's Lava Dart. I would guess that means Brozovich is about to go for it.
There is the Violent Urge. Three spells cast now. As you mentioned, Delirium online. Here's Mutagenic Growth. 4 spells. So the Swift Spear was a 6. Mutagenic Growth pumps it to 8. That's going to do it. Looks like no blocks in the Swift Spear, just connected for lethal. Quick one for Brozovich. As I mentioned, this could be a good round for lunch for our prowess player.
Right, and you know, in a lot of ways, that signals to me that Murahashi may have had a follow-up that also applied a ton of pressure. In that spot, you just want to deal a bunch of damage.
This is something that definitely comes up when you play the prowess deck. You have 3 cards in hand, you make an attack, and you just hit your opponent for 1. And maybe if they don't play the prowess deck, they think, oh, you didn't have anything else. It's like, no, 1 point got me to lethal next turn, actually.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so players are going to go to sideboard. We'll start at the top of the screen. Brozovich on Is It Prowess? Is there anything that can maybe even get him better here?
I think for the most part, Brozovich isn't trying to mess with the formula too hard. Consign to Memory in some ways is the free space against any colorless deck like this one. I also could imagine the card Murktide Regent coming in if Brozovich thinks things are going to end up getting a little more grindy post-board. Just a situation where if you think Murahashi's going to be a little better at paring down resources, Murktide Regent is the kind of card that can actually outgrow the back half of a Kozilek's command without asking you to cast more spells, which is something.
Yeah.
For the most part, though, I do think Brozovich is just trying to put something like a Monastery Swift Spear on the battlefield and have the second verse be same as the first.
So for Murahashi on the Is It Eldrazi side, arguably does need some help. Is there anything on the sideboard that could do the trick?
Kozilek's Return is the only thing that looks super attractive here. There are maybe worlds where you want to bring in something like Mystical Dispute, but it's pretty ugly. It naturally hits the things like Expressive Iteration. You can't just spend 3 mana to counter something like Violent Urge, which I cannot stress enough you're not thrilled about. But sometimes the cards you register are the tools you have.
Right. Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of pressure on the main deck, Sire of 7 Deaths.
Yes.
You cast that one, that's a game winner.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think there is a ton that Murahashi's even trying to necessarily get out of the deck. I know Palantir of Orthanc is like a cool card, especially in Cube and places where the games might get longer and be grindier. That is not what Brozovich is about.
Yeah, you do want to speed things up because one way or the other, Brozovich only wants to play a few turns.
I can imagine a world where you might see Murahashi board a little bit lower on the Through the Breach combo. Both halves of that don't do a ton for you in the most tense and uncomfortable turns of the game. So again, this comes back to some of the stuff where Mystical Dispute, for example, it really is not pretty. But if you are on the play and your opponent, say, plots a Slick Shot Show Off on 2, you can get it on 3 if they don't have their third land.
Yeah, it's a card that can do something.
Right, exactly, which is more than you can say for Emrakul the Aeon's Torn before the 4th or 5th turn.
Right. So we're playing Modern this weekend, but there are more events on our schedule here. If you're on the East Coast, maybe you're interested in checking out SCG Baltimore. It's actually coming up next weekend. SCGCon Baltimore in October 24th to the 26th. Check out social media on that, hashtag SCG Baltimore. Find information on the main event. This is going to be Spotlight Series Spider-Man. This is going to be standard. Plenty of side events. Maybe Carmen will be there playing Legacy. I don't know.
I played a lot of Legacy in Baltimore. A lot of the Legacy Opens used to be there. Just great scene for it in the DMV area.
Absolutely, yeah. Find information on that at starcitygames.com/SCGCon. I have a bit of a tournament history in Baltimore as well.
Oh my God! Was it in Legacy?
My good friend Liz was playing Legacy.
Oh yeah, right. You were playing Is It?
Yeah, if you can believe that. It was Teamer. I agree. I had Life Goes On in my sideboard.
Oh, and look, Ryan Brozovich has mutagenic growth in hand.
Twins.
It's like he's coming right at me. 10-7, one lander up on Brozovich's side.
Yeah, on the draw, I believe it's a fetch land. It's the kind of thing where you can't fetch a surveil land and have action on one, so it gets tenuous. And if you're full on 2-drops, you do need to hit the land. So we're underway. I believe that is going to be Mistrise Village for Murahashi, as Brozovich is going to fetch and shock for Dragon's Rage Channeler.
I agree. All right. Dragon's Rage Channeler, also the kind of card that makes a one-lander more forgiving.
It can help you find lands at the cost of casting spells that are maybe a little awkward, but it's not the worst to just point a Lava Dart here in the upkeep.
Right. There's some, it could be that. It could even be upkeep mutagenic growth.
Eldrazi Temple from Murahashi. So the mana is shaping up. It looks like multiple Kozilek's returns in hand, but not yet the red mana to cast him yet.
All right, Monastery Swift Spear, not bad.
Yeah, I'll turn the heat up. And this is kind of interesting. There is a mutagenic growth in the holdings. If you fire that off, you're in a lot of trouble against Kozilek's return, but you really insulate yourself if you're able to maintain it. And I like the Dissipant here. Just the 2 points coming across. Going to save that one for later despite missing the land drop.
I love the no cast.
All right, so here's Dress Down from Murahashi. And Evoca the Null Drifter. Cast trigger, draw 2 cards. That one's going to stick around because of the Dress Down.
Does Murahashi have the third land?
Basic Island. Okay. No sign of red mana
just
yet.
This is tough.
But that 4/4 Annihilator one is looking pretty strong.
Right, absolutely. This is the spot where Brozovich, real shallow on permanents to cast. Or play.
Holding in the upkeep here, if you have Lava Dart plus Lightning Bolt, putting one at the Null Drifter and trying to surveil into a land it's maybe your only play. And here you do see the Lightning Bolt. It's going to surveil away Mishra's Bauble.
Oh, okay. Big draw.
Looking for untapped land. Ooh, Consigned to Memory off the top.
Also looking for an untapped land for that one.
Yeah, no kidding. You do get to attack. In your dream scenario, Murahashi blocks. Can't imagine that block is happening.
Right, this is one where I now like not blocking. If your opponent didn't have the follow-up land, you can assume if Bolt got pointed at Null Drifter, there's probably either another Bolt, maybe an Unholy Heat, a Lava Dart in hand.
Right. So just 3 points coming across. Murahashi to 15. And there is Basic Mountain.
Uh-oh.
And there is Kozilek's Return. 2 damage to all creatures. Brozovich is going to catch that with mutagenic growth, and this actually does save both. You get to +2/+2 the Dragon Rage Channeler, Prowess trigger on the Swift Spear.
Ooh, surveil a Lava Dart.
often exciting on one land. It's less so.
Well, it's not like Brozovich has to do it right now. The games where this goes on for a while, Brozovich likely draws more lands.
Null Drifter's Annihilator does whittle down this concept of later that you're alluding to.
Of course, of course.
All right, so here comes Null Drifter. That's going to annihilate for 1. Monastery Swiftspear is sacrificed, and 4 points come across. So I believe Brozovich is actually falling to 11 on account of the mutagenic growth. We'll head back his way. There's no game without a second land. Not clear if there is one even with a land.
And is this an upkeep stop?
It looks like it. There's absolutely no game if you just get annihilated again and don't make your land drop.
Right, exactly. And it begs the question, what is it you are looking for at this point? If you draw another land from here, maybe you get to cast something like a Quarry Steelcutter.
If you find a blue source, you can like consign the Null Drifter trigger and then have 2 lands on tap the next turn.
Okay, I mean, milled Preordain.
Yeah, Lightning Bolt upstairs. Milled a non-land, looking for a land. It's not a land. All right, here comes the Channeler. That's an attack for 3. It's a mandatory attack for 3.
Right, the Preordain being a sorcery, getting Brozovich up to Delirium.
Murahashi's attack is not mandatory, but he's pretty excited about it. Here comes the Null Drifter. Here's an Annihilator for 1.
This is a tough one. I assume you have to sacrifice the Dragon's Rage Channeler. Because if you're drawing lands, you're effectively saying the cards in my hand can win the game from here, which I don't think is true.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Brozovich does as well as Chandler is sacrificed. Here is Sire of 7 Deaths.
Anybody's game.
I don't think there's anything Brozovich can do to deal 9, and we are going to go to game number 3.
Whew. I mean, honestly, in a lot of ways, that game really convinced me of your initial position about Brozovich dreaming of lunch.
Right. Second land might have made that easy in the other direction.
Right. Murahashi got all the way down to 9 when Brozovich was basically only casting spells in the upkeep.
Really desperate timing on everything. A Lightning Bolt pointed at Null Drifter, I'll remind you.
A mutagenic growth pointed at please keep my creatures in play.
Right. Sort of a force of will impression on the mutagenic growth there.
Right. That's a spot where if those had been able to go upstairs instead, theoretically that would have been another 6 points with the Dragon's Rage Channeler.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something.
And put that on the play. You have less time to set up from Murahashi.
Right.
Players going to take some time to review the deck list. Getting ready for game number 3. We'll have Brozovich on the play. I do think that there's no reason that you would, move off of the consigns. They seem strong. The sideboard configuration, he didn't draw any cards that were bad. He just didn't have enough lands.
Let me ask you, if you are in Brozovich's seat, do you think you are at all worried if Murahashi casts Soulless Jailer as a 2-mana 0/4?
I wouldn't say I'm worried. I think the worry would be if I lost, I'd be so embarrassed.
Ooh, okay. So you're saying Murahashi shouldn't bring it in. That's. I'm just thinking. Okay, what are the cheap cards that Murahashi can look to bring in whenever they're on the draw? Like, is there really a way to break serve from here?
I think it's a card that you can break in, and it makes sense to bring in. Like, some of your stuff is really slow. It's hard for me to imagine a matchup where Murahashi is just tapping out for stock up on turn 3 and not just dying immediately because he did that.
Right.
I would rather have an 0/4 than doing that.
Right.
So.
Right. It's really tough. Where I mean, it can block a lot of tokens from something like a Quarry Steelcutter.
Yeah, it's not nothing, but it's not great. All right, so we're playing Modern here this weekend. We have SCGCon Baltimore next weekend. We have a lot of events coming up in 2026. We're going all across the country. Atlanta, Portland, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Las Vegas, Hartford, Los Angeles, Baltimore, Dallas, Washington, D.C., Richmond. Bam, 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 bam.
I'm an everywhere man.
And this is just, make your travel plans now. You can check out information on all these events, starcitygames.com/SCGCon. These are Spotlight Series. These are regional championships. There's legacy side events. There's other formats for side events for people that aren't Carmen.
Okay, but you're saying there will be legacy side events.
I'm saying.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to be so disappointed if that isn't true.
All right. That's fair. I don't think you'll be disappointed, though. On the topic of disappointment, looks like a mulligan on the draw here from Murahashi.
It is strange where I do think that the games that Murahashi actually is able to hang do involve enough draw steps to kind of get out of a bad mulligan.
Right, and the recipe is kind of a small volume of the right stuff.
Right, exactly.
Spot Sire of 7 Deaths. Question is, do I spot 7 mana?
I think I am eyeing at least a soul land and a talisman.
All right, it's a start. Ooh.
Oh. It's good to be here with you, buddy. It is. Oh.
The second card hits the table. That means this is a mulligan to 5. All right, we'll see how Brozovich opens up here. Here's Arid Mesa. Can't fetch that quick enough.
Get my life pad out of the way.
Here's Steam Vents. Brozovich is 17. And what are we doing on 1? A threat would be great. A preordain wouldn't even be bad.
Okay, but would a preordain be bad?
No, here it is.
Oh, right. No, yeah, sorry. We covered this. My fault. I'll practice.
Yeah, you got to appreciate a cantrip. They're most powerful when you're looking for the business, but just setting up for turn 2, especially now you have Corey Steelcutter, you have Slick Shot Show Off. A lot of great stuff to do on the second turn. And pretty strong first turn from Murahashi. Here you see Ugin's Labyrinth. There's that Sire of 7 Deaths. And here is a 2-mana play. Talisman of Creativity, I do believe.
Same. Right, it's really interesting where normally you would expect the aggro deck to get out onto the table, but somehow Murahashi put 3 cards down.
3 mana's worth of development as well.
Ooh, Mystical Dispute. Chillin'.
All right, yeah, you definitely have time with this kind of setup.
Button.
Brozovich is going to fetch here. You got to imagine there's some kind of threat on turn 2. We'll find out which one shortly. Basic Mountain is found.
If it's a Slick Shot Show Off, do you plot it or cast it?
I don't think so. I think that the card you have to actually be afraid of is Spell Snare, and plotting isn't that meaningful. He does choose to plot it, though.
This looks to me like it might be paying some respect to something like Kozilek's Return.
Sure. Yeah, 4 mana return would clean that up. There's matchups where there's sorcery speed stuff and plotting can really pay you off. I think part of the equation here for Brozovich is 1 point doesn't matter that much.
Sure. You're right, exactly. That's always the tough part where you go, okay, do I think this game is going to change because I put my opponent to 19 instead of 20?
Right.
And it can. It really can. But this kind of matchup is not the one where that is going to be the case as often.
On the topic of going to 19, that Talisman is going to give some blue mana for a stock up. Murahashi looking at 5 cards. Has to be aware with that show off on plot that this might be the final turn of the game. He has to probably leave up some interaction here.
All right. 2 to hand, 3 on bottom. Couple lands look like the gets.
Lands are going to be important. And there is Scalding Tarn. Right, back over to Brozovich, untapping, has the show off on plot. This is a card I would not necessarily expect to see it. I believe I spotted an unholy heat in Brozovich's hand.
Good check for Null Drifter.
Yeah.
That's something that feels like Murahashi's been happy to kind of hang their hat on that one in the first couple of games. So having a way to get through it that isn't 2 for 1ing yourself makes some sense to me.
Yeah. Catches up to you a little bit in games like this, though, but there is some material. Here's Corey Steelcutter.
Ooh.
You have the show off ready. That's an easy way to get the Monk.
We need to get the other caster duo in the booth so we can have Corey Steel.
Here comes a show off. Here comes a Monk. Thundering Falls is the land for turn. I like doing this pre-combat. Mill Steam Vents. There's like a world where you mill Lava Dart and it matters.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely.
And here's an attack for 3. Murahashi takes to 16.
Every little bit.
And now we'll fetch down to 15 as we head back his way.
See, and this is fun because plotting the show off whenever there's this Corey Steel Cutter means that even though Brozovich missed a point last turn, quote unquote, by not attacking, in this instance, it means it actually was worth 2 more points of damage to miss the 1 point.
Right, you get to make that Monk.
Exactly.
Thundering Falls, unsurprising find here. Time for some Severling on the Eldrazi side of the table. Looks like a close call.
And this is the tough spot because Murahashi is extremely under the gun now.
Yes.
This is a lot of pressure. You can assume that there's probably another Monk token on the way, which means there's probably 2 spells on the way. And look at that. Soulless Jailer.
Get out of here.
All right. I can't believe it. I personally am shocked. That's... All kidding aside, it just speaks to adaptability on Murahashi's part.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where if you are kind of going through the motions and you are scrying and see a sideboard card on the top card, you might think, hey, I should draw that. Texturally pretty bad here. And here's Kozilek's Return. That's pretty good. Actually cleans up the show off and takes care of the Monk token.
Right. That was a really nice one to have where you can feel Murahashi going, please no mutagenic growth. Please no mutagenic growth.
Right.
But it mattered a lot that there wasn't one.
Yeah, at least in terms of getting through the turn, I do spot some more business for Brozovich. Here's land number 4 for Arid Mesa. Gonna fetch that before committing more to the battlefield. Another basic mountain. Hour of Devastation basics, the Bolus Horns. I like that pick.
Evil. Very, very cool sense of scope. Like just really sweet visual storytelling.
Yes. All right, here's a backup slick shot show off. Ooh, and that's going to get caught by Spell Snare.
Ooh.
This has been a really good turn from Murahashi.
Oh, yeah. You just chucked a lot at this point. There are a bunch of cards now that Brozovich couldn't even cast if they had them in the space of Violent Urge, Mutagenic Growth, but there is a Preordain, which isn't bad.
One of the better follow-ups you could have here, making a Monk and replacing itself. Some card selection on the way. A card that was banned in Modern for quite a long time, Preordain.
And now it's just neat.
You can play it. It's pretty good. It's really good.
Right, both of these players kind of on the precipice of day 2 right now.
Yeah.
At least one of them with Preordain in their deck.
The other one gets away with stock up. You know, some lands contributing to that.
Ooh, which one of those cards is stronger?
Don't ask me that.
Ooh. You can feel the pressure at the table right now. Both of these players being so deliberate.
Looks like both cards tried to the bottom. Brozovich did pick up Expressive Iteration. Certainly an above-average draw. It's not going to do anything this turn. but it could be parts of some big fireworks next turn. Here comes the Monk, 2 points, Murahashi to 12. A doable amount of damage.
Though, I want to draw attention to this Sire of Seven Deaths hiding under Ugin's Labyrinth. Every land drop that Murahashi hits marches closer towards an end game that is face up on the table.
Right. And that is some of the woes of the Mulligan to 5. The fact that the Sire is under the Labyrinth means you need a turn to pick it up. It also means that the Labyrinth only produces 1 mana after the fact. It's threatening. There is some inevitability there. But the question is, how many turns does Murahashi have left to do that sort of thing? So this would be 7 mana if something else was under the Labyrinth.
Right, definitely. So here's Shivan Reef. Okay, but it looks like 7 mana.
Yeah, here's something. Null Drifter.
You know, we talked about Quantum Riddler being 2025 Mole Drifter. That's 2024 Mole Drifter.
Importantly, triggering this Kozilek's Return, that should clean up the Monk token.
That's pretty nice. Also, very heads up that Brozovich didn't deploy Dragon's Rage Channeler last turn.
Yeah. Not committing more into it. Null Drifter draws 2 cards.
Notably, Murahashi doesn't have to do the Kozilek's Return.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where sometimes you just don't. Maybe your opponent will respond in some way. There was no action there as we go back to Brozovich. The Null Drifter does make dealing 12 a bit more difficult.
Absolutely. All right, back to Brozovich. The holdings including, I believe, a Dragon's Rage Channeler and an Expressive Iteration.
Going to start with land number 5. Fetches up a Steam Vents. Is going to shock for the trouble. Definitely doesn't want or care about finding land with the iteration at this stage in the game. Just looking for business.
Right. I definitely cocked my head to the side a little bit, but now that I think about it, you're totally right. If Brozovich hits too many lands, very easy to just put 1 in hand and exile the spell whenever Brozovich has access to this much mana.
Right, here's Dragon's Rage Channeler. There's Expressive Iteration. That's going to make a Monk. It's going to give a Surveil trigger.
Ooh, Lava Dart.
Perfect. All right, look at the top 3. 1 to hand, 1 to exile. Can be played this turn, 1 to the bottom.
Is before my time, but I know that card had the playtest name Mixed Media, which I adore. Expressive Iteration, also very good. Very good, but mixed zones, just sort of something really cute there when most of the way these cards are play tested is without art.
I do like that. And when you've already committed 3 mana, I understand how this decision is tough. You can't like find a Corey Steelcutter from here and make a token this turn. You probably can't do that much if you grab a Slick Shot show off. Exile's Mishra's Bauble is going to cast that. It's going to Surveil with the Channeler. Going to mill another Channeler.
Oh.
And there's that Unholy Heat that's been in hand. There is a target for it. That's going to grow the Monk. Going to Surveil with a Channeler. Put another Bauble in the graveyard.
This looks pretty nice at this point.
Yeah, you got an attack for 4 online.
Whoa!
Violent Urge. 5, 6, 12? 12?
Wait! No!
There's a Lava Dart too?
What? What?
Yeah, Brozovich was just double checking. That's lethal.
Oh my god, out of nowhere.
Ryan Brozovich, through multiple sweepers.